was really surprised to see Maura leave.
So I think actually big personalities have left quite early.
She has almost been using this whole show as a platform to kind of launch her upcoming comedy tour. Her and Reverend Coles.
Hilarious.
Clearly they're going to get their own spin-off show. I mean,
Sure, do you not think she's just sort of done nothing? Whereas like Danny in the first episode had that snake down his pants.
I would be so bored if Danny wins.
Why do we think that he pulled out?
If he'd gone on the show, he would have to talk about the
Of course, because
split.
someone...
I think she'd reached her limit of what she was going to put up with.
So I don't think they were ever in a serious relationship.
I always think like, really, you're Britney Spears, you can get
I know.
anyone.
This is a PSA, Britney Spears, we're thinking of you. Welcome to Virgin Radio's Showbiz Wrap. I'm Maddie Hale, and this week I'm joined by The Sun on Sunday's Hannah Hope and The Sun's assistant showbiz editor Amanda Devlin to break down all the biggest entertainment stories that you need to know. And firstly, this week, let's recap the latest from I'm a Celebrity. Guys, obviously the three of us are obsessed. We non-stop speak about this. We've been speaking 24/7 about this show.
So to me.
For anyone who hasn't known, Hannah was already obsessed with it. She's gotten me into it. We're kind of at the crunch time now. We've only got a few days left. What are your thoughts from the last few days?
I was really surprised to see Maura leave.
So
Same.
shocked.
I thought
Gutted.
I thought she was going to make it at least to the final 3 or 4 people. She's got such an infectious, fun personality.
Yeah.
So her and Barry McGuigan going last night was a bit of a shock for me.
I
Actually,
agree.
I think actually big personalities have left quite early because even Talisa, she was the third person to leave.
Yeah.
And Maura seemed like such a big personality. I definitely saw her in the final.
I thought she'd also, just like by virtue of like popular vote, I really thought that people would want to keep her in because I think she surprised a lot. I mean, I didn't watch Love Island, but I think she surprised a lot of people with just how funny she is.
Why was no one in Ireland actually voting for Barry and Maura?
I know.
Yeah.
Just abandoned them. I thought they'd have that huge vote and they would get all the way, but no.
I also think that we've seen these traditional huge celebrities sort of go in favour of GK Barry, who is a TikTok star.
Yeah, new
and
media.
You cannot underestimate the social media following that this woman has. And she has almost been using this whole show as a platform to kind of launch her upcoming comedy tour, just with her deadpan comments.
Oh, is that what she's doing? I didn't know she had a tour coming up, but I only followed her from various like random TikToks, and I find her absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
She's brilliant, and but also I kind of think that her relationship with her and Reverend Coles,
Hilarious.
clearly they're going to get their own spin-off show. I mean,
Surely, someone needs to capitalise on these two. They are absolutely like hilarious together.
ITV will be capitalising, don't you worry, Maddie. They always come up with these duos.
But don't you think there has been so many iconic duos in this show? Like the unlikely pairing, we have Melvin and Otis, who are the big brother, little sister relationship. And then we've obviously had Danny and Barry, father and son. And then we've had GK and Reverend Richard. And I just think these people, they've just delivered.
Oti and Melvin, I mean, when he left and she was like smelling his clothes, which I thought, that's actually quite risky. You're in the jungle and
You
it's
shouldn't be smelling anything.
grim. Like, why are you doing that, Oti? Like, that's how much brotherly love she had for him. And I think last night with the whole Danny and Barry moment, that was just so emotional, so gorgeous.
I
between
obviously
them, wasn't
told
it?
you guys just before that I was tearing up
Yeah.
watching Barry get out, and then doing the watch back of the way that Danny spoke about Barry. And I just thought, because we've only just found out really about Danny kind of opening up about his relationship with his father who left when he was younger, and how he kind of had to man up and, helped his sister through university, bought his mum a house. He's just such a stand-up guy. So when he was talking about how Barry is the father he needed, I was just like, oh, okay, we're really going here.
I think as well this year we have had some real tear-jerking moments. Obviously, when Barry opened up at the beginning about losing his daughter. I mean, most people welled up watching that. But also, a few nights ago, when Melvin was feeling really down in the dumps, and Oti gave him this pep talk.
Yeah.
That really kind of got me. Actually, I don't know why. I just sort of seeing that relationship and seeing how she brought him out of his shell when he was like, I can't talk at the moment, but don't just sit there with me. I was like, oh. I'll sit there with you, Melvin.
I know.
Bless him.
And what I've loved is I've loved how all the men have been so in touch with their emotions in this show. All of them crying. There's no stigma. There's no, shade being thrown. It's just they're all opening up.
No toxic masculinity, Maddie. It's very vulnerable, isn't it?
Didn't you find it interesting that when Moira got off and she said to, they all rave about each other when they get evicted, but when she said to Ant and Dex, she goes, no one's had an argument. Like no one has fought. Obviously, we as the viewer would have loved to fight, but it's so true. They've all gotten along so well.
Well, compared to last year and previous years, we've talked about this, where there have been a lot of butting heads, a lot of arguments. I think they have gotten on well. But I also think it shows that you don't need a lot of drama for it to be an entertaining show. You don't need loads of arguments. And that clearly wasn't the tone of this year's show. It wasn't about, toxicity. It's sort of been about support. And without sounding too cheesy, I feel like they've all managed to shine in their own ways. I think the casting director has done a really good job this year.
I do think that, I think most people are going to come out with opportunities.
Oh, 100%,
They've all brought something to the table.
They're going to earn coin for those 3 weeks roughing it.
And I'm all for, with the money, because people, when you go on Big Brother, just to compare the pair, you get, if you win, you get a certain amount of money. You get the winner's earnings. But this show is different because everyone gets paid to go on it, and then you win money at the end, right?
You don't win money at the end. You earn money for going on it, and each of them will have earned completely different pay packets.
Yeah.
But someone like Dean, who was essentially not very well known before, won't have pocketed, the millions that Dean did. But he'll probably get a deal out of this. He'll get fame. He'll get campaigns. So it's well worth doing.
He hasn't had to suffer as long though, has he? That's the point. Of it. If you've got your paycheck, you kind of are pleased to leave whenever you leave, because it doesn't matter. You're not holding on to get more and more money for another day in the jungle. True. So you can kind of just say, actually, I'm done now.
If you leave on your own accord, then you don't get paid, right?
They're in the contract. I think if you walk, you're not going to get all your money. And they make that very clear, because in previous years, last year, there had a lot of people walking.
Really?
And they won't have picked up all their... I think if you have to leave for medical reasons, maybe you're exempt.
Okay.
But they had, do you remember Britney Spears' sister?
Yes,
randomly
Jamie Lynn, of course.
She walked, and we never really knew why, did we?
No.
And
I
there was a
thought
few
she was
of them.
just not enjoying it. I forgot about that Jamie Lynn was in it.
She never did an interview about it though, did she?
I think it's a disgrace that they get any money at all for quitting. I mean, what you're signing up to. I think you've got to wait. It's so unfair for the public to get behind you, to be voting for you, and then you just can't be bothered and you leave and you take your cash with you. I hate that.
They're not all Brits as well, right? That go on.
No. Oh, we've had loads of brilliant American stars in there before.
Caitlyn Jenner went on previously.
Oh, of course.
She was brilliant, wasn't she?
You're going to have to start rewatching all of these.
Guys,
I feel like you need to go back into the archives.
Yes, I've been addicted this season, but I agree. I need to go back in the archives. But
do you know what I was thinking about the other day? Because on the Unpacked show, after the main I'm a Celeb, they were playing clips, and it was an old clip of Lady C. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
So she was on there, Lady C's on there, and she's having this absolutely huge fight with basically the whole of the camp.
Oh, that was an iconic
And she was shouting and swearing and calling them every name under the sun, and it was hysterical. But it was also very, very toxic. And that series is known for that. We remember it being all about fighting. Complete contrast to this series. This series, I think because of not having that fighting, they've actually been able to do all this emotional stuff because they felt that they can be vulnerable and they've actually all softened.
And they've been able to tell their own stories, and we've actually learned loads about each of the campmates,
so much.
which is really interesting.
And do you know what's been my favourite part of the show? Legitimately, the downtime when they're all sitting around the campfire talking and they're asking each other questions and asking each other hypotheticals, or I think what was one of the things they were asking? Maybe it was like, what skill would you all want?
Or if you could be a celebrity, who would you be?
Yes, I loved that.
Wants to be a royal. Like, she pretty much is a royal.
That was so funny. They're like, you kind of are a royal, but didn't you love Richard, Reverend Richard's commitment to wanting to be a football player and just talk the way he just speaks with this suaveness. I don't know, when I first watched the show, when I first kind of jumped into it, my thoughts on who I wanted to win were so different. And I think I love that about the show, because the production they put into kind of those moments where they're sitting around the campfire getting to know each other, it's like you guys get to know them as well. So you end up, by the end of the season, barracking for people that you didn't think that you'd be barracking for. Like, I really love Otie, and I did not know that I didn't even know who she was.
Oh, right. If you don't watch Strictly, you're not going to know who she is. I've got to admit, exactly as you've just said, when you watch them all talk around the campfire and then they pan back to Ant and Dec and you're like, no, I'm hanging on to their words. I want to know what they say next.
Like when Reverend Richard was asking GK how she got rich. And she's just so down to earth. She's just like,
that story.
Yeah, and then I got a Porsche, and then I realised like I was rich.
Yeah. I called up my accountant and he was like, yeah, go for it. Like, absolutely love that. So but those moments that's so important for the show and to build up the relationship that you have with each celebrity. But I think what's really obvious about this series is how they're all huge characters within their own right. Instead of being, you know, the normal, maybe a Lady C, Caitlyn Jenner, like a bigger person who everyone's a little bit like in awe of and all scared of. And then you've got smaller characters. I think actually this is why we're seeing huge people go out so early.
Yeah.
I mean, someone like Barry, for him to actually end up being quite quiet in camp and to leave at this stage, I think is a big surprise. In other years,
sorry guys.
In other years, he would have been in the final.
Yeah,
you know?
You do usually get the sports person to last longer.
I like that. I agree with you, Amanda. I like that everyone's on a relatively kind of easy playing field in terms of celebrity status. Like, I think they all think that Colleen's probably the most famous, but she's like the most down to earth out of all of them, which is...
Yeah, because she's actually like, even though she's the most famous, she's not really a celebrity in the same entertaining
No,
way that
exactly.
they are. She's basically a stay-at-home mum and she, you know, has a lot of money. The other thing is that this could have been a really different series. One of their star cast was going to be Tommy Fury.
Shut up.
And he pulled out at the 11th hour and then they had to rejig all the cast. But I think, you know, this is a boxer. I think he probably does have a few toxic masculinity issues.
That would have been a different vibe.
It would have been a completely different vibe. They wouldn't have had Barry in there. It could have been, you know, it ended up being a domino effect of the whole cast.
Why do we think that he pulled out?
He definitely did pull out at the last minute, which caused a complete kind of ruckus. I think it was too soon to his split with Molly May.
Oh, so it was after that. Like it was before, like he was signed on to, well, maybe not signed on, but he was meant to be doing it before the split.
And I think that he realised that if he'd gone on the show, he would have to talk about the split.
Of course, because someone's going to ask him and you have no control over production. You don't even know what's being filmed.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have to assume that everything is being filmed.
And I don't also think he was probably in the right headspace after the year he's had.
He's kind of focusing on his boxing.
Yeah.
He's signed up to another fight and everyone was a bit like, oh, this fight is what you pulled out of the jungle for. They really wanted him in I'm a Celeb to try and get out of that. Because I think maybe going in there without his phone, without his friends, actually having time to think about the split, it might have brought out a lot of emotion from Tommy. We might have found out a bit more detail because everyone's desperate to know why they split up. They've been so secretive about it.
Do we have any inside source from you two Showbiz reporters?
We know he cheated on her,
And he cheated, it was...
multiple times.
Yeah. And the reason she ended it so abruptly, well, you could say abruptly, but just told the media or told her fans.
And I think, wow, incredible for that, doing that as you know, abruptly and not going back.
Why? Is it because I mean, you could do it to hold yourself accountable, but did she do it because she knew that there was going to be stories that come out about him?
I think that she found out, and I think that she knew there was no going back. I think she'd reached her limit of what she was going to put up with in her partner, and partying and being away from home.
And she seems like an absolute divine character. I really like her just from what I see.
She's got her head screwed on. She's very young, doesn't drink, stays at home, works hard, looks after her little girl Bambi.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say though about it is that, you know, you get these celebrities who their whole entire career is based on them as a couple or based on them talking about their life. And then when something happens that you actually do want to know about, they suddenly go silent and they say, oh, it's private.
Yeah.
And I find that very frustrating as a fan, you know, and in the industry that we're in, because you think, well, this is your chance to actually tell your story and to put the truth out there, whereas they all keep it really secretive.
But we will, because she's doing that reality show. So do you think that we will find out more?
They've made it very clear that it's a documentary, it's not a reality show, and it's all about her fashion empire. But come on, this was being filmed while the breakup was happening. Yeah. Those cameras will have picked up something, so it will be interesting viewing for sure.
God, could you imagine if he actually went on that show after the breakup, you're right. He would have just been sitting in those thoughts for hours on end, wanting to talk about it. And
think about what you've done. Think about what you did
in the bush, in the Aussie bushland with your cat mates that you've never even met before.
He probably wasn't in the right headspace for it. To be fair to him, he's quite a young guy still, isn't he? You know, he's got.
Imagine going through a breakup is bad enough, and you've got cameras in your face. 24/7.
24, quite literally 24/7, with absolutely no control over what gets shown to the public.
But Maura is one of Molly's best friends, and she's not breathed a word about Molly, has she? So that's we could have.
I didn't know they were best friends.
Yeah.
That is a duo I like to see.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we might
because she was after Tommy, wasn't she?
Yeah,
that was the point. That was in the show.
In the show, I did see those clips. What did you guys think of, on the note of, the fact that you can kind of leave and still get paid? Do you know what I found really entertaining? When both Melvin and Maura were voted off and both were like, this is a great thing.
Yeah.
This is a great thing. They were so candid about the fact that they were ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Having been out there, right, so you come out of the jungle and then they come back to this 5-star hotel where their friends and family are out there to greet them. So it is really nice for them to actually come out and enjoy those few days in the sun, living it up in a 5-star hotel.
Sounds much better to me. I would love that.
And the weather looks amazing. But Jane's been there. She was obviously the first person voted off, and she's been there for like over a week, or whatever, how long she's been there for. Is she just chilling? Is she just chilling in the hotel?
She's got a lovely tan.
Great tan. They go on the extra camp show, so that they keep them busy.
Yeah.
But she needed to put some weight on, did Jane? I feel like she lost a bit too much
weight. She said she lost 4.5 kilos in that because I don't work in pounds, but she did an article for you guys for The Sun, which I thought was so interesting, where she talks about the fact that they think that they get woken up around 5:30 a.m. because you obviously have no concept of time, that you don't really see the cameras. They're built into fake rocks, and that she like listed a few things about her campmates, but she said Colleen was the hardest worker.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great, because I think it's been, I don't know if anyone had any preconceived notions about who Colleen Rooney was. I think that she's really proven herself to the point where she could win, and it wouldn't be because she's such a big name. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
It would be because she deserved it.
Yeah, and she's probably earned a huge fan base from this show. She, like you said, she does work hard. She's really down to earth. She's been really nice to every single campmate in there.
She has.
I don't think she's actually set her foot wrong.
No, and I like how she just kind of gets on with it without moaning. And I think when you saw her going for that challenge, when you had Maura screaming on the one hand, which would absolutely be me. So I'm not for 1 second judging Maura. That would be me screaming my head off. But Colleen was just in the moment, just like totally silent, concentrating and really wanting to win. She didn't, and it was obviously Oti who got that golden ticket. But I love that about her, that she just kind of really determined, wants to get on with it. But you can see she desperately wants to be in the final. She wants to win.
She is a quiet competitor, but we actually have the clip from last night's trial showing Maura reacting to this.
Not being Maura's grid yet.
A lot of squealing and screaming.
A lot of squealing. Don't think that's hell of an hour talk.
It never gets old for me the way Maura reacts in these trials. She's insane, and the fact that they finished the challenge and she hadn't put any of the blocks into the grates, like as per what they were meant to do. She's just like, I'm done with this.
That's why I'm surprised that she left so early, because I'm sure we had a lot more screams to go in Maura.
We had a lot more screams. But, we've only got a few days left. Does it finish on Sunday? Yeah.
It finishes on Sunday night. And, we've got some iconic moments to come. In tonight's show, you get friends and family going into the jungle.
Really?
Which will be...
So they see them?
Yeah, Colleen will be reunited with 2 of her boys, which will be amazing. And then I'm quite excited for you to experience this, Maddie. So tomorrow night, it's the Cyclone, which is a big challenge. How would you describe the Cyclone, Amanda?
It's madness. It's like a water-themed thing, but you're battling against water, winds, things being chucked at you.
It's like a big inflatable toy. It's like a fun challenge, isn't it?
Does Oti do it?
So Oti has got her pass through to do the cyclone, hasn't she?
Oh, okay, right.
It's like total wipeout. I don't know if
Wow.
you've seen that
Okay.
show.
Yeah. I have.
What did you think about the golden ticket getting her through, though?
I liked that twist.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah.
So that gets her.
Why
I
didn't
really
you
didn't
like
like it. I just felt like it's really disrupted the show.
Ooh.
And it has, because if you think about it, she could have been what? She could have been Barry, so she could have been 8th.
Right, yeah.
No,
But
I
instead
agree
she
with
could
you.
go right up now.
To what, 6?
She could be 6
5
or 5.
I
guess, yeah.
actually agree with you, Amanda, because I thought that Oti could have been Barry.
Right.
I didn't.
I do. I think
Yeah.
she would have gone out. I think the fact that she won is really, that did secure her place. I think she would have been in the ones. One of the two. The double
Yeah, no, I do
eviction,
as well, but I did think that she was probably on the chopping board next.
But I do think, given how long the show has been on, I do think the producers are being quite fun by playing these tricks. Because
Yeah.
they will want, you guys, the viewers, to be a bit annoyed that this has happened. And, I think it kind of gets us all talking. It's a cat among the pigeons, isn't it?
And devil's advocate, I guess it's sort of making everyone a bit unsure, sort of inside.
They can do anything,
because they don't really know what's going to. Because a lot of the time they can probably work out exactly what time they're going to go. They can kind of see the favourites around. But because we've had so many shocks this time, it's actually really hard to predict.
It is hard to predict. As you said, we've got a few more episodes left, but who the bets have, the betting odds, Paddy Power has Danny Jones as the winner. Ladbrokes has Danny Jones as the winner as well. Colleen is tipped to make the final. She's behind Danny in terms of who will actually win. How do you guys see this playing out?
Can I just jump in, because I know you love Danny.
Stop outing me, but yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I would be so bored if Danny wins, because McFly have got the biggest fan base.
Yeah.
And all of the shows that McFly members do, they win. We've already had a McFly member, Dougie, win this show years ago. We've had Tom Fletcher's wife won this show, who's also McFly. We had Harry Judd. Did he win Strictly, or did he do very well on Strictly? I can't remember.
I think he won.
He won Strictly. No, it can't be another McFly
Yeah,
win.
it's
I'm
predictable.
sorry.
I get that. But I think he's done really well, though. So
Yeah.
I kind of think that if he won it, he actually deserved, not only because he rises to the challenge for trials. He's a team player. He's divine to be in the jungle with. He's always making friends. He's been a crowd favourite. So I'd be happy with him winning. But to be honest, I'm really torn, because I would love him, Reverend, or GK or Colleen to win.
What, do you want Danny to win
4.
still?
I think he's a deserved winner. I think Colleen, I know as much as you like her, do you not think she's just sort of done nothing?
Yeah,
I would say
think,
that, and I think that's amazing that she's been so brave, but also it's whereas Danny in the first episode had that snake down his pants. So
that was iconic.
I actually think the last challenge that she did with Alan, I thought that was probably the easiest challenge across the board. The thing that I think that she has done well, Colleen, is that she has been so calm and collected in these challenges. She puts her head down, she works hard, she does it.
I kind of just find that a bit boring, though.
No, I agree,
but I think having a bit of something about you, like Danny, we've had real tears from Danny. He's really opened up about his past. He's got on with everyone. He's got a laugh and a smile that fills up the entire camp.
She doesn't. It's like, are you in love with him?
I'm in love with him.
Those 4 people you mentioned, I think, will be in the final.
Yeah.
I get on very well with Oti, in the showbiz world. She's always so lovely, and I loved seeing a mum go in there. Her baby's quite young, and I've loved how she's conducted herself throughout the whole camp. She's always been there
great.
for people.
Yeah.
But she's also held people to account. Do you remember when Dean was having an up? She was like, "You need to get up, Dean. Come on." And I was like, "Yes, Oti." I would like to see her in the final.
I do love. This is hard because I love everyone, but
Danny's sort of very much the mould of what I'm a Celeb, the winner usually looks like. It would be very predictable. So I'm with you in that it would be nice to just have a bit of a surprise. And Oti actually would be a surprise. She would be a surprise to it.
Reverend Richard would be a surprise.
I like him.
I would be really happy if he won.
Yeah. I didn't know much about him before.
Neither. I didn't even know he sung that song.
No, me neither. He sort of just
when they were singing it around the campfire, I was like, is this he? him.
He's had a life, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But GK Barry, obviously, their friendship's been brilliant together, as we said. But she could really surprise everyone with the amount of fans that she's got. If you've got enough money to buy a Porsche so sort of soon into her career and as young as she is, and then she could just head straight into the top two.
You're right, she could, and she probably will.
Yeah.
But for her owning a Porsche and talking about how rich she is, I'm sorry, she's not a winner for me. She needs to go now.
What? Because she said she was rich? Because you said it out of
jealous.
jealousy. Guys, I don't even think she's that rich. I just think that she's like richer than she has. I mean, yeah, she's. I didn't even know who she was really, besides a few TikToks I watched. So I'm happy when when it's a rags to riches story. But the way she said it, she was like, I guess I'm rich. Like, she's hilarious. So any of them I'd be happy with. But we're going to move on, guys, and we'll be waiting and watching that situation unfold Sunday night.
We didn't actually even mention Alan once, and maybe that proves that he's just completely.
Oh my God, I forgot
disappeared.
about Alan. Sorry, yeah.
Well, Corey's got a huge fan base as well.
That's why he's going through, and he could definitely end up right at the end because he has just one of those quiet people who just
he's got a
moves
massive
on.
Wow. Okay,
but we completely forgot about him, which is not a great sign.
So,
sorry, Alan.
Sorry, Alan. A big story this week, Sabrina, Carpenter and Barry Keoghan breaking up.
Oh.
Now, I want to get your thoughts on this, guys, because these two have been together for about a year. I think the first time they were spotted was December last year, and there were reports earlier, I think a few months ago, that they'd broken up, but then he was at her concert and she's just finished her big tour. I think my thoughts on this is that I don't think they were ever in a serious relationship.
Well, look, this girl warned Barry he better not mess with her. She put him in her music video for please, please, please don't hurt me, don't do me wrong.
Yeah.
And, she told him in black and white, you screw me over, you're out. And he's clearly done that. And now he's on his Todd.
I kind of thought because people the rumor circulating, yes, is that he's cheated on her with a semi-famous TikTok influencer. Now that just screams, emasculating behaviour because she's such a big star, if that is true. But I just think that he looks, every time he's in an interview, I feel like he knows he was doing well with her. So I don't know if he did cheat on her.
Self-sabotage.
Do you think?
He's got a history for cheating, yeah. He cheated on his ex.
With the mother of his child?
Yeah. And I think he's a bad boy. He's had a really interesting upbringing. He grew up in Ireland, with not very much. And now suddenly he is like this Oscar-nominated star, earning huge money. He's probably got women throwing themselves at him. He's, the Playboy of Hollywood. I think he's probably going to have his fun. I don't know, what do you think?
I think so. I think I hate when we do these stories and it makes the girl seem this victim.
Yeah, because I
think she's far from that. I think that she is super young, super gorgeous, super talented. She doesn't need to be waiting around for a guy like this to cheat on her and like begging him, please, please, please don't cheat on me. I think you're absolutely right that she's been, getting on with her tour, having the best time, living her best life. He's been there if she wants him. But they're massively doing their own thing. I just don't think that you could look at these kind of types of people when they are that rich and famous. And seriously, I mean, I don't know. He's a bit older than her, isn't he? She's in her mid-20s.
Yeah, she's 25 and I think he's 32. Yeah,
but for them to be, at this point in their careers, just focus on each other and not cheating, I think would be like really hard to believe.
Because they've both been travelling so much. I mean, she did the tour for months and he was doing whatever he was doing.
But how is it going to work? It was hard enough to make a relationship work as it is without being like that.
How do we actually see each other? I mean, I always wonder this with these like cross-Atlantic relationships.
I think they have to make such an effort to be flying to each other, but I just had this feeling because I just think she's such a boss babe and I just think she's so independent. She knows that she's killing it. I think she puts herself on a pedestal as she should. So part of me thought, I don't think they've ever been in a serious relationship. I think that it's been a convenience thing. When I see you, I'll see you, or I'll make the effort to see you, but we're not in a committed relationship.
Maybe they were exclusive, but maybe she never thought that, she was going to have his babies and they were going to be walking down the aisle.
I don't think
she's in her mid-20s, isn't she?
Yeah, I don't think she's in that headspace. I mean, this is complete speculation from someone that I don't know her, so I feel
like I do know her.
I feel like I do.
Talk as a friend.
Yeah.
I think, he's an interesting character because he's the man of the moment. And because we have this list, right, of IMDb's top popular celebs of 2024. So this is when people like obviously Google IMDb celebrities and you find out what they've been in. And Barry Keoghan comes in on number 6. So people have been interested in him.
Because he's sort of come up almost out of nowhere, you know, with Banshees of Inisherin and then obviously Saltburn. And, you know, before that he was sort of almost a bit part actor.
Yeah, he's done a few things.
Also, I just also want to say, I think he probably gave her some street cred. Like he probably gave her a bit of an edge, and I think that worked. But that list is interesting because I was surprised not to see Zendaya in there.
Oh, really? Because I was surprised not to see her. Sabrina Carpenter's not in this. Zendaya, you're right. But
Who's number 1?
Number 1 is Sydney Sweeney.
Right.
And she's obviously in Euphoria as well, but she had Anyone But You, and that was at the start of the year. Oh, no, maybe that was the end. I think that was the end of 2023. So, because Glenn Powell's in here. He's number 5, her leading man. And they notoriously brought back rom-coms. And it's a random list. It's like number 2, Ella Purnell. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
Number 3, Kristen Milotti. That's the one from, she plays in, I don't know what she's been in as of late that would warrant that. But she is the mother in How I Met Your Mother.
Right,
in that show. And then number 8, Eve Hewson, who's Bono's daughter, who was in The Perfect Couple. Yeah. So it's a random group of people, honestly. I never would have thought that this would have been, but yeah, Barry Keoghan.
It seems rogue at that list.
It's
I
a
don't know.
rogue
I don't
list.
really. So it's just how many people have searched. It just seems really odd.
Yeah.
Maybe if you think about it, you search for on IMDb if you can't quite place them. So you probably wouldn't search Brad Pitt on IMDb. You'd search his, you know, the co-star or someone who is, you know, the second new person.
Exactly. So, but I mean, Barry Keoghan, on a side note, he did speak about his trust issues and his growing up. He told James Corden in an interview, "You don't trust the process of anything. You have a problem with attachment and abandonment." All of these things that I've been working on for many years with several therapists. So let's just, you have to be really aware and be honest and be brutally honest with yourself and, you know, to work on these things. So he's obviously had a tough upbringing, foster care for a number of years, but sad to see these two part ways, but I have a feeling we'll see them together again. I don't think this is a clean...
That sexual attraction is going to draw them back together.
Yeah, they're clearly incredibly sexually attracted to each other. They've made that clear.
I don't know what they talk about, but maybe they just
They
don't talk. They don't talk.
I'm so for her, and something that really annoyed me was that people were like, Sabrina Carpenter is like sexualizing herself too much on stage, like she's got kids at the concert. Grow up. Like, she's a 25-year-old girl. She's not 16. Like, let her do what she wants on stage.
Let her live, you know.
Let her live. Just finally, guys, Britney Spears officially single. She's divorced on her 43rd birthday. Cannot believe she's 43.
Say 43rd divorce.
43rd birthday. She's officially single. Her and her ex-husband have officially divorced after just 13 months of marriage, but they were together for a number of years.
Sad, I think,
I know.
because I mean, she's obviously been through a terrible time with her conservatorship, and I think that they seemed like a nice couple. So I hope she's happy single. Obviously, you don't need a man to be happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like the idea that she had this sort of hunky man who looked after her. So I hope she's all right.
Especially in that, you know, very dark time where the conservatorship was like unraveling, and we had the whole Free Britney movement that took over, you know, the news for a number of months. Everyone was so concerned with her. But apparently the divorce was amicable, says People magazine, and that the prenup was not challenged. So it seems that it was all fine.
Well, that's all good, and I'm sure she will be dating, you know, another hunky young man
where do we
soon.
Toy boy, yeah.
Where do we see our future for Britney Spears?
Not Barry Keoghan. Let's not make that happen. I don't feel like those two would be a good match.
Do we think she's going to, you know, find someone, or do we think she's going to kind of have a resurgence with her career?
I do find it, I mean, this is a kind of wider topic, but I do find it so interesting when you get these huge stars, especially someone like her, who's been famous since she was tiny.
Yeah.
And for their struggle to find really true, everlasting love.
I agree.
You know, and it is really interesting to see how they can do so well in their career and then struggle in that side of their lives. And for her to go out with these kind of young guys, and I always think, like, really, you're Britney Spears, you could get anyone. And so I hope that she doesn't rush into something, and she's had and maybe still does have a lot of issues. I hope that she waits for someone that's really worth it,
Yeah, this is a PSA, Britney Spears. We're thinking of you. We're wanting the best for you. Well,
love you.
That is all from us this week. Thank you to Hannah Hope and Amanda Devlin for joining me, and be sure to like and subscribe for the latest entertainment news here on Virgin Radio's YouTube channel.